Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I'm going to add, with the permission of every board member, to the road foreman's report, a warning for public hearing on the Wickopee Hill speed limit change. And we'll discuss that under the road foreman's report. Now, we have the minutes from September 19th, when it was Geraldine, Steve, and I, and then the minutes from the 28th, when the full board was here.
So I would move that we approve the minutes from the September 19th meeting. Steve needs to second it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye. So 2 abstentions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, then moving on to the minutes of the 28th.
I'd move approval of the minutes of September 28th.
I'll second that.
Oh, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Right. Okay. Then we have bills for payment. We have warrant 8, 8P, and then from the Recreation Board, we have RB2.
I move, we approve payment for warrant 8, warrant 8P, and RB2.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All right.
For my benefit, so who moved it?
Steve,
I did.
and I
second.
seconded it.
Okay, sorry.
All right. And under warrant 8, we have $101,995.54. A.S. Clark is receiving a payment of $60,160 for work on the Tucker Reed Bridge. Bell Engineering is getting paid $7,000 for engineering. The Town View, which is the software program the listers use, that is being paid at $1,030. We have payments to Green Mountain Power, $17,799 for crack sealing on the roads. Wyndham Solid Waste Management District quarterly payment of $5,694. Payroll transfers and gravel. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Recognition of visitors and public comments. If you're here for something that's on the agenda further down, then that would be the appropriate time for you. But if you're here for another reason, this is your chance. Yes. Paul Normandale.
Yes, sir. Thank you. One comment regarding sheriff and traffic control and speeding. I don't know if you've had any other comments like this, but a short while after the bridge opened, there was a young man running up and down the road at an excessive rate of speed. I tried to slow him down, by kind of, when I was on the side of the road, I can't try to do that. And
He was flying.
yeah, well, but in any event, I took his license number and I called the sheriff's department. And when I discussed it with the sheriff's department, they said, "Oh, you gotta talk to the state police." I said, "We only do speeding enforcement." I said, "Well, that's why I'm calling." And I told them, I went through the routine, told them who I was, where I was from, and what happened. And they said, "No, we don't do that. We only do speeding enforcement." I said, "Yeah, I know. That's why I'm calling." And they said, in effect, they said, "We don't want to talk to you. We're going to convert you. We're going to send you over to the state police." So that's what happened. And I was always under the impression that they would handle that kind of thing because it was a speeding infraction. But apparently they only do, from what the impression I got, they only stand on the side of the road with a radar gun, or if they happen to catch somebody speeding while they're on patrol. So I don't know if that's something that would make sense to bring up when you're discussing your contract with the sheriff's department, to clarify exactly what they do in terms of speeding enforcement. But this was obviously not what they felt was in their bailiwick.
Then the state police called you back.
Yeah, and state, and I had a conversation with them, but it was just the results of my interaction with the sheriff's department, and I don't know how many other people have that
I
same
have.
impression.
Do you know who you spoke with, Paul?
At the sheriff's department?
Mm.
No, I don't, or at least I don't recall the name,
You
I'm
didn't tell
sorry.
me, so.
But that was essentially the results of the conversation. I'm sure that must come, I'd start at the top and say, okay, Mr. Sheriff, what is it? It wasn't anybody I was familiar with name-wise, so it wasn't the fellow that you coordinate with.
Okay. All right, and we probably will be having the sheriff in to talk about the contract and what's coming.
I mean, I could follow up and just see what their position is prior to that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, right, I have something else. Anyone else?
I'm here, I don't know if I'm a guest or a resident, or, I am on the agenda, I believe.
Yes, and so we'll deal with you.
Okay, so I don't, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't
And
know
I'll
the
just
protocol.
remind people that our rules of procedure are that if you wish to speak, you wait to be recognized by the chair. One. Yes, by holding your hand up or something like that. Yes?
Forgot.
All warmed up?
No, I just admiring the way you.
Oh,
Yes.
I meant to ask you this too. It really, in terms of meetings and announcing your meetings, I know you use the Commons as your official paper. I'm constantly looking in the Reformer for when you have a meeting or that kind of thing, and I know, because they list a bunch of, they have a meeting section, as you know. Do they charge you to put meeting notices in the Reformer?
I'm not sure, but I think that's just a public service.
That's what I thought
Yes.
too, and I
No,
was
legal
wondering.
notices, and that's paid for, and we use the Commons for that.
Right. I was wondering if it would make sense for the select board. I mean, I think it
We
would make
can
sense
just-
from my perspective.
Yeah, we can check and see what their policy is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think more people are used to looking in the Reformer to find out where meetings are, what time, and.
So you'd like to see
I thought-
meeting notices also in the Reformer,
Yes.
that's your
Right.
point?
They-
Right.
Okay,
They have a section where they have meetings listed,
right, I
right?
just wanted to get it right for the minute.
Yeah.
You're the scribe.
All right. All right, now, if we're done with public comments, we'll move on to the school board members, the study committee work, and Act 46. So, I think the board isn't looking for a history of, but we're more concerned with what do people in town need to know about the upcoming votes, and when they will be, and what we'll be voting on.
So Christina, you wanna? Christina and I don't know if you're familiar, but Christina's the associate member for Dummerston, and then I'm the voting member.
Hi Christine, I'm Geraldine.
Do you know? everyone?
Yeah. Joe Cook.
So, for reference, there's gonna be a historical sort of overview in the upcoming edition of the View, just to let everybody in town hopefully understand how we've gotten to the point where we're at. Right now, what's going on is the study committee has recommended a report be submitted to the state or Board of Ed and the Vermont AOE for approval for a unification vote. There's a couple of steps in that process, and the public information campaign is starting officially now. The study committee has had, courtesy of BCTV, all of its meetings broadcast, so they're all there in their Technicolor glory. And so anybody can refer to them, to get a historical perspective as well, and more information. There's a lot of information on the WSCSU website under the Act 46 study page, including the current draft of the report. I didn't bring you guys copies because I figured we could save some trees, and you can look at electronic versions. The report has been pretty well fixed since March. We've had some discussion points. We resolved most of them, and the one that we're currently working on right now is the model of a proposed unified board. Fairly early on in the process, we had gone through and talked about a hybrid model. The board itself is proposed to be made up of 9 members, and the hybrid model is an at-large model, and we were trying to give the smaller towns a larger voice. With 9 members, 3 under the hybrid model, there would be 3 Brattleboro members, that have to come from the town of Brattleboro. There would be 1 from each of the other towns, Dummerston, Guilford, and Putney. And then in addition to that, there would be 3 at-large members. In fairly recent discussions, Inez and others have pointed out some issues with this at-large model, because we would all elect each other's representatives. So as a voter in Dummerston, if the at-large model were approved, we would be voting on the Brattleboro, Dummerston, Guilford, and Vernon representatives. You can go both ways with the 2 models we're looking at. The advantages of the hybrid model are that, in theory, the smaller towns could have more members. Because of the 3 at-large positions, they can come from any of the surrounding towns. There are downsides to this, and that's what we're trying to really get a feel for and get the feedback from the local boards. The downsides are that the votes have to be commingled, so there is no transparency about who Dummerston would be actually voting, into their position. We wouldn't be able to see that Dummerston elected one particular person. All the votes from all of the towns would be together for that one person, so we wouldn't be able to see that. And that's a concern definitely to board members, and then people participating in the process from the community. So as an alternative to that, we've gone back and are looking at the more traditional model, which is called the proportional model. It's based on census, and it would be a composition very similar to the BUHS district board right now. So it would be 6 members from Brattleboro and 1 from Dummerston, Putney, and Guilford.
That's dictated by statute as
Yes.
to how the representation
Right.
happens.
Yeah. We've talked about like a weighted vote model, but that really, it doesn't give us any significant advantages. This committee itself has felt that, these 2 need to be thrashed out by the local boards and input. And I should also clarify too, we come to you independent of the school board. That's why I didn't warn it as such. The study committee is a separate body from the school board. So we did at last night's meeting get some directives from the school board, direct guidance that they support a proportional model for the board composition, as well as some other matters. But this is, that's the big point right now.
You consider yourself the working group, is that the name of it, or the?
Study committee,
The study
the Act
committee.
46 study committee.
Okay.
Yeah, WSDSU Act 46 study committee. Yeah.
We could go back to the school board and talk to the school board about coming to speak to the select board about the school board's position on the act under a different format, which I think would be a better way to inform the select board about the town-specific concerns, because this has been created by the study committee, which is
Okay.
5 from Brattleboro, and so we've hashed that as best we can, but the school board has been going through the process. We've had multiple forums with the public, so I think most people in the school board now are pretty well versed at, you know, wherever some of these things land, I think most people in the school board are pretty well versed at what's going on. And so we'd be happy to, once these last few issues, but it's a big issue. Once this commingling at-large system is hashed out and we have our final articles, I think it would be a great opportunity to come talk to the select board as a school board.
Yeah.
I know people in the school board, I can talk to them and try to.
So in addition to one particular issue, our next meeting is on October 26th, I believe, or 27th. It's the Thursday, the last Thursday of the month.
Okay, the 27th.
And the study committee's goal with that meeting is to get some feedback from the local boards about the different models and to hopefully have a clear direction there. Beyond that, we are looking, as you probably know, Vernon did took their first steps to withdraw from Brattleboro Union High School District. The issue with that is, and I don't know how closely you followed it, all the proceedings with Act 46, but Vernon has a different structure than the rest of us. They do pre-K to 6, and then they have choice beyond that. None of the Brattleboro, Dummerston, and Guilford and Putney don't have that. If we were to go forward together as one consolidated unit, all the towns, including Vernon would lose their history of school choice. They would not have that option anymore. So that finally being clarified by the state back in March, they started their process of seeing how that they could, retain their 54-year plus history of high school choice. And they took their first steps in August, and their townspeople voted, to affirmative to withdraw from the high school. There is a second vote that is required by statute by all the other members. And that will most likely take place on the first or second week of January. And that will be specifically to allow Vernon to exit BUHS District 6. It gives them the freedom to pursue their options, and because it feels like high school choice is important, very important to their community. And it also allows the other communities to move forward as well. So, there's going to be, like I referred to earlier, there's going to be information sessions. We've started some as a study committee. The goal is for the study committee to go around to the communities numerous times, and also, be at each physical school in the case of Brattleboro, because there's multiple schools. But this is not just a one-shot education deal. There's a lot of information to digest and learn before we can all make an educated decision about what we think is best for our communities going forward. So that will be happening. The study committee, the Dummerston board recommended at its meeting last night, allowing the study committee to hold an information session on November 15th. And I will confirm that with the study committee, make sure that, it's available to present. And what else? Oh, the unification vote, assuming, that Vernon is released, the next step would be for the towns of Brattleboro, Dummerston, Guilford, and Putney to vote on unifying, forming one large supervisory district. And that would most likely take place on town meeting day in March. So we have not met with the State Board of Education yet. That's another step that we have to do. They have advised the committee that they don't think it's worth everyone's time to meet with us yet until after the Vernon vote. in January.
Makes sense.
So we would probably, assuming the outcome is favorable for Vernon, the member towns agree to release them, then we would probably be meeting with the State Board of Ed in January, at the latest February. There are some statutory, date timing requirements that
Yes,
all hinge.
we
Yes.
know all about
I
that.
figured you would,
Yeah.
but, I would encourage, you to look on the website and to use Christina and myself as a resource, because we know way too much about commingling of ballots and,
706B.
yes, and stuff, so, that, the intent was to just come by and say, this is going on, and, in case you guys get questions from voters about timing and all that kind of stuff, but,
So right now, the two town votes are January for Vernon,
for all of us to
For the
release
Vernon.
Vernon,
to release Vernon.
right, from
And
the
then-
district high school,
The next vote would be town meeting day for-
correct,
to do the
in
district.
March.
And then this hybrid or proportional, is that something that is decided, that's not voted on by the town? That's
No.
something that is a decision
No.
that's made?
Yeah, the
How
study
it's gonna
committee, will be deciding about, based on recommendations from
Okay.
local boards, all of us, at our last meeting, we could have decided then, but I personally wasn't comfortable, I don't think you were either, in terms of saying yay or nay to one or the other.
Okay.
So we opted to wait till the next meeting, and I believe most of the boards, if not all of them, were having another round of school board meetings and could, so the members could get feedback from the local boards to take forward.
Okay.
And Brattleboro doesn't care either way.
Right.
So it's just for the three small towns. Brattleboro has said that, part of the issue is the representation offset between all the voters in Brattleboro and then all the people that they'll have representing versus the small towns. So they have graciously said, you three small towns that are remaining, you make the decision. So
Yeah.
it's just three towns
They-
that have to come
they
together.
defer to
So,
us.
yeah.
And I guess, just to clarify, so even in the hybrid model, I think that's right, where everybody in this district would vote for everybody's rep.
Yes,
There'd be, it doesn't matter if a Dummerston rep is gonna there'd be one person from the town of Dummerston that
Correct.
would in fact be on board regardless,
Correct.
correct?
Either way, you're gonna have a.
Yeah, I guess
decision.
I just trying to clarify, even though
Yeah.
everybody's voting, there's still gonna be a
Right.
Dummerston resident.
Right,
that-
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then the other three proportional members could be from any
correct.
of
Yeah.
the member towns.
So in theory, any of the small towns could have from 1 to 4 representatives on that board, depending on how energetic townspeople wanted to be.
Okay.
So,
But I guess the concern of that is that there's so many more voters in Brattleboro that how are you going to assure that the resident of Dummerston is going to represent Dummerston? Because if you were a smart campaigner, you wouldn't spend any time, except for maybe the Apple Pie Fest, you would go to Brattleboro to make your case to the voters.
and that brings up another point too about the at-large model. In the at-large model, even though one person comes from Dummerston, you are representing the entire unified district. You are not just representing Dummerston's interests only. You have to be thinking on a bigger perspective. And it is an advantage, depending on your point of view with the proportional model. You would, have a direct voice that would be voicing Dummerston opinions, so. Oh, and the other thing too, that is you can read about it in the Articles of Agreement, or in the Articles of Agreement, there is, a leadership council at each school proposed. It would consist of the principal, and a couple of people that would be appointed at town meeting, or nominated at town meeting, right?
Yes.
Yes, nominated at town meeting, and then, hopefully teachers, and they would have, really, significant input to, the study committee on terms of, capital expenses and programming and hiring and, budget development. It was something that we have legal counsel from Wells and Leopold, which is a Vermont educational law firm, and they advised us not to put it in as an article. We did, the study committee felt strong enough about maintaining local voice, we put it in as an article. And it is, I don't know if it's one of the ones that cannot be changed or not, but there are specific articles that cannot be changed unless they're by the electorate. And all that would be discussed at information sessions, plus a lot more, so. So,
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think Amy's given you a great review, and I will feed back to my friends on the school board that we should arrange for another meeting between the select board and the school board, just to
Okay,
get that internal Dummerston view.
okay.
oh, and the presentation too, the general format is on the WSCSU website. So if you can't come to the November 15th information session that the study committee's gonna offer,
Okay, that's on a Tuesday, right?
yes, yeah. So you can view it there. It won't have Dummerston specific data in it, which we would put in there, but it
Okay,
gives you the gist.
Great.
So, thank you.
okay, we have a couple, time for a few brief questions.
I
Yes,
don't
Jody
have-
Normando?
Jody Normando. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to make it very clear that the vote in town meeting would be Australian ballot.
Mhm.
There would be no discussing
Right.
this at town meeting. I also wanted to say that as a person that's been attending all of these meetings since before it started, I have a lot of real concerns, and I think those concerns will come out at some of these public meetings from the school board, because the school board has some real concerns. And I think most of us from Dummerston, we've been the big group that's been attending these meetings, and so many people don't have any idea really what's going on. So I would encourage all of you. We've had good turnout at our public meetings and good questions. So I would encourage all of you to come to those.
Okay, thank you. Chuck
yeah.
Fish? or Charles
Amy
Fish?
and Christina and the rest of the study committee have worked very hard, and they've worked diligently, and I know they have done what they think is best for not only Dummerston, but the whole district. But and if in fact Act 46 passes, it is important how the voting is done and other matters. But the fundamental question isn't that. The fundamental question is, do we want Act 46 to pass or not? And the reason I'm opposed to it is because it radically changes Dummerston government in that we no longer have a town school district, we no longer have a school board. The big part of our budget is gone and is swallowed up in a $56 million budget or whatever it is. So it radically changes community life in Dummerston if it passes, and not in a way that I think is good for the political and community well-being of the town.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Just, I also wanted to voice my concerns. I second what Jody and Chuck have said. My concern is that we don't know really what the benefits of merger will be, and we won't have the voting power to control the outcome once a merger goes through. So I am going to vote no in March, and I'm urging my neighbors to vote against it, because we're going from having 100% control over our local school to being practically disenfranchised. In a merged district, Brattleboro has 71% of the vote. Each of the small towns has about 10, Putney slightly more. This is also true of our representation on the study committee. And the only way to get off the study committee is to vote no in March. On the study committee, we only have one vote, and so this wasn't clear to me. I don't think it was clear to the board, although I can't speak for the board, that our school board was going to lose a lot of power when we joined the study committee, and the state has been interpreting Act 46 and the merger statutes and procedures to strip our board of a significant amount of power, and I'm worried about what that will mean in a merged district. We will never know how funds are spent at Dummerston School after a merger, and whether we're in a hybrid model or a direct representation model, we will have a very little voice, 10%. And even if we combine our efforts with the other small towns, we're still outnumbered in terms of votes by Brattleboro. So We also don't know if mergers are going to achieve the things that are being lauded as the benefits of merger. Equity, cost savings, improved programming. We will have little voice in which direction the merged district takes. And in Maine, Maine has gone through a merger process. Many of its schools were forced to merge. They have an undo provision that lets merged districts disband. And they're currently in the process of disbanding because they found that merger didn't work or it didn't produce the benefits that they wanted. And I'm willing to listen to see if there are benefits to merger, but I'd like to see other districts in Vermont produce their results before my town takes this big leap. If other towns in Vermont merge and are able to produce foreign languages in the small schools without closing them down, then I'd be more in favor of a merger. If we're able to save money, I'd be more in favor of a merger. If there's a way to ensure that small towns continue to have a voice in a unified district, I'd be more in favor. But until I see that, I'm leery of it, and that's why I've been going to all these meetings. But
So I'd just like to say that I came to give an update.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna respond to any of this
Right.
stuff, and I'm gonna encourage all of you to refer to the information on the website, take a look at the report, and then hopefully come to some of the meetings, because a lot of this information will be discussed, and the thinking of the study committee, with data will be provided, so, so you can have another glimpse of the picture too. So,
Right.
but thank you very much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you very
appreciate
much
all
for
your
coming.
work.
All right. So, now we have the part of the show everyone enjoys, our road foreman, Lee Chamberlain. Coming up onto the stage. You're gonna miss the Tucker Road.
My cocktail is waiting.
I thought you might bring them to share.
So,
Okay,
Lee, how are things going?
all right. We can do Tucker Reed Bridge first.
Sure.
As you can see, it opened on time.
Yes, they did.
The guardrails, are supposed to be, the end of this week, but we'll just say within 2 weeks. And hopefully we'll have all the paperwork in and we can hand it to the state to get reimbursed their 90%. I did hear somebody talking earlier about the guardrails, so I looked it up, and it is the W beam, it's not the box beam
No?
on it.
What's that?
The regular guardrails,
That's the regular.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's all I had on that, if we have a question about that.
Lee, is there a timeline for getting the paperwork in to get that 90%?
No.
Okay.
But the sooner we put the paperwork in, the sooner we get the money.
Okay.
So, I'm hoping to have it ready for next select board meeting. What we have to do is pay all the bills before we can hand in the paperwork.
Okay, I just wanted to know if there was a timeline.
Yep.
Good.
Alright, so, we have the, report of the, town truck accident on here. And that was a truck, with the operator had, I don't really know how much to say, but, had a medical issue, and, the headboard ended up clipping the telephone pole and breaking it. Ended up being, we had to pay for a mirror. We were able to repaint a little bit of the door, but other than that, it was, I didn't feel it was worth going through the insurance, put it that way.
Any questions about?
I just wanted to get Lee's thought on, Do you think that there would be a way, I don't know if you do emails, but I wondered, would there be a way to alert the select board when something like that happens? So when we get a call from somebody, at least we're
In the know.
informed.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
know.
do emails or you don't email?
I can.
Or text,
I'd
you
have
text?
to get it. Yeah, texting. I
Oh,
do.
okay, so could we be text when something like that happened? Just so
Yeah.
when somebody calls us, we at least,
Yeah,
No.
I think
The
seeing that it's medical, I rather deal with one select board member and with two of us working that day and trying to deal with everything else that was going on. I think Zeke found out fairly quick. It was a little bit in the morning, I
Yeah,
guess.
I found out from Steve.
Oh, all right, okay.
I think
Yes.
you're right though, Lee, as a medical thing, there's confidentiality involved.
Right.
But also the point person, one person on the select board finding out and that person having the responsibility to inform everybody else. Does
Yeah.
that seem reasonable? Is that sort of
Just
what we're
seems-
asking?
Oh, it sounds like a good idea to me.
you're going through 2 steps to get one done. I mean, we're responsible for the equipment and I'm more, I just think we should know if somebody calls you and says,
I think it should be well, I'm sorry to get into
Go
this
ahead.
discussion, but I think it should be, you have people who want to know too much information. And I get 20 calls on this one incident if I answer my phone every time. You just, on something like a medical, I just rather have it hashed out, let the chairman of the board know, or if I do have a contact person, a couple select board members, let them know. And then they can just say, just tell them to relax, we'll sort it out, we'll get them the information. And that's from, different contractors call me because they hear of a truck hitting something and, they're concerned. And it gets so it's,
Right,
it's.
I don't quite understand what the issue is though. If you're calling Zeke and you let him know and then Zeke,
I
you
can
let
call
us
and
know.
everybody else know.
Right.
And you help us know what to say if we get calls, and that all happens in a timely
Right.
manner. Obviously, you're gonna get hit with
Yeah.
a lot of calls, you have to know what to say, but in terms of informing the select board, which needs to happen in a timely manner, we should just decide, you're gonna call the chair, or you're gonna call,
In that first 2 hours, there was so much going on as far as knowing, let's, make sure he has the proper,
Care.
yeah, exactly.
right, right,
But-
and sometimes you don't know what to say in that first hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, and there's so much going on. I could call and say one thing, and then 20 minutes later it could be totally different, or not totally
Right,
different.
no,
but,
I understand that.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, I know where Steve's coming from, just from having different positions in the past. I do think it's a good idea. We don't need to know like everything, but
Right.
you really don't want to be. You really don't want to be finding out something that happened to something from the town from
A resident.
someone else. You
Yeah.
you want to have at least, and even if it's truck, we had a truck, it clipped a telephone pole. We're taking care of the driver and we're dealing with the power company. That's enough information to start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that way if somebody
Absolutely.
calls you and says, hey, what's going on? Well, you know what,
And
we
you say
got
truck
a
hit a
call from our
pole.
road foreman, truck hit a
Yeah,
pole,
yeah,
we're taking care of the
yeah.
driver.
We'll
When we
have
know more
more
information,
information.
we'll let people
We'll have
know.
more information.
It's very,
Okay.
you know what they say, like, bad information doesn't get better with age, and you hate to be the last to know, right? So or somebody's got to be the last to know. But I think it would be. I mean, like I did send a text out for another thing, but did anybody? Did you guys get that?
Yeah.
For something else. I just happened to be here, and I thought that was a good idea to disseminate the information. So.
Well, on that one, even I had called Hugh and
Yep.
actually had him
Yep.
come here to meet me.
Yep.
Because I thought we needed a select board's opinion, and I knew he was probably if he was gonna answer the phone, he'd probably be available.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd be happy. You know, you take on a lot. I mean, my other thing is if I'm, my phone's off, it doesn't
Well,
get
then
any
you have the
doesn't get any
first person,
service.
and if the first person's not available and
Yeah.
doesn't respond,
Yeah.
then he knows who the second, it's just a process that we need to put in place so that it's easy for Lee in a moment
Right.
of,
So I would be happy to be that, so you're not doing everything, but I'm just saying, everybody knows there's several days a week that, my phone's off for several
right,
hours.
and so the important thing is to respond right away, got it.
Yeah.
We'll inform select board, and if you
Right.
don't get that, then you
Okay.
know you have to call somebody else.
It's up, I mean, if you wanna do it,
No,
because you're here,
that's
I'm just
fine.
trying to not
I'm
have you
happy
do
with
everything.
anybody, if you think Steve would be smarter to talk to,
Or
but
if,
it gets the chain going.
Okay.
I think we need to be
Rarely
informed.
And then,
Yeah.
whoever gets the call,
Right.
the responsibility is to let everybody else know.
Yeah.
Yeah. David Baker, you have a question?
I just, the only thing, if we could get the address, I don't care that there's an accident, if there's property damage, the address would be helpful. To hear that a truck hit a telephone pole down the road from Slab Hollow leads me to think, well, I'm counting telephone poles, and obviously that's what prompts, because a lot of the information from those of us that don't live here comes from the email that we get from the town the following, that night or the following day. So if I just, telephone, town truck hits telephone pole at 123 Main Street, beautiful, I'm fine, I don't need to know anything else. But an address, because if I'm 150, I was, I'll fess up, I was the guy that called Steve and said, Steve, wipe out my telephone pole, are they over the hill? And I'm halfway, to Vermont by the time I get the power company to release the address as to where it was.
Yeah, and these are actually, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's my only issue is that I if there's property damage, I don't need to know if the guy, I hope the guy's fine, I don't care, but his issue, whether, whatever his medical issue is, I don't care, it's none of my business. And quite frankly, I don't care if it's a town truck or not, again, none of my business. But if there's property damage, I wouldn't mind seeing an address on the email. That would be very beneficial.
And these are actually two different steps.
Yeah.
And one is to inform
very
the
difficult.
select board who's responsible for the town's assets, and the other is to allow the community to know through a different system.
Yeah.
That's the only information, that's my only source of information is through the town clerk on the email system.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So do you want, if that's something, incident comes up, you can shoot
Alright.
to me, if not, then I would,
Yep, I'll
Send
do
somebody
my
else.
best to get a hold of somebody as soon as I can.
Good.
Alright, so, we had I heard you guys talk about, you wanted to talk about the Wickopee Hill speed limit?
Yes, part of the process for changing the speed limit requires a public hearing. And Hugh has been working on this, and he would like to send in a warning to the, this will be warned in the Commons and on our website and posted around, that we would hold a public hearing at the Dummerston Community Center on October 26th at 7 p.m. And this is, gives notice that the select board has proposed a change of speed on, from 35 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour on Wickopee Hill. And this is as per our town ordinance, traffic ordinance.
yeah, that would just be what's gonna be inserted in the ordinance as
Okay.
item K.
Yep.
As the last, because there's nothing addressing the
Okay.
roads. It's-
Town Highway 48, Wickopee Hill Road, from the intersection of Bear Hill Road to, south to the town line, would become 25 miles an hour. So, we could have a motion.
I would move that we publish that warning in the Commons.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All right, thank you for doing this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right.
Okay. Okay, so,
And just to be clear, we also are having, we had scheduled for 7 PM public discussion on parking in the West Dummerston Village at the community center. So I think this public hearing will just take a few minutes, and then we'll proceed with our parking discussion.
okay, to go along with that park, and I'm not planning on being here for the next meeting, so I didn't know if there was any questions you wanted to ask me about the parking over there.
Yeah.
If people have gone down through it, they've seen it, so it's, I don't know if there is a good fix though.
I guess just get your, as the road foreman, then your opinion on at least enforcement of the winter parking ordinance. There is a, what would you like to see? You plow, we have an ordinance that says you can't park in the road when there's a snowstorm or where you're plowing.
Right.
You know, it's not enforced, I don't believe, at the moment, but we have the ordinance. I mean, is there something, do you have a thought on it or opinion, or not trying to put you on the spot?
You're right, and
Yeah.
I think no matter what, if a warning is a good thing. I've only had one car towed, but they got a warning first.
Mhm.
The West Village is definitely different because most of the time you can get down. Well, I've never been not able to get down through it.
Mhm.
Even though after they move the cars, then there's cleanup to be done, and if they move them too late in the storm, you might have to go the next day to clean it up. Yeah, I mean, if there's, I don't know if you, there's not a whole lot of cases like this in the town, where people are parking, halfway out into the travel lane or a quarter of the way out into the travel lane.
And that is the case on West Street.
Sometimes, yes. And of course, during winter, everyone gets pushed out further and further towards the center because of snowbanks.
I was there, I think it was Thursday last week, and there was at least 3 cars parked
Yeah,
into the travel portion.
right. Yeah, I mean,
It's certainly additional risk. I mean, I know you haven't hit a car with a plow
Right.
yet, but I mean, it's certainly a risk involved with cars in the road you're trying to plow. And like,
yes.
as you said, last year was kind of an anomaly, but most years the banks get, when you're right, the people get further and further out because of the banks, but.
Ideally, it should be followed. I mean, that's, I think that gives the opportunity to get cars towed, maybe not there, but in other spots too, but park out on the road. It's just a matter of the driveways that people can park in and they don't because they don't want to double park, or those are the most
I have to say, I think it's a lost opportunity to not have someone present to represent the road crew.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the aspects of parking on West Street that brings some objective, reasoning, rational thinking around what's safe. I mean, when we start talking about safety issues, people can begin to see things in a similar way, and it kind of helps any polarization.
Yeah. I was just going to be out of town
Yeah.
for a week, so.
So is there,
I talked to Durham today. I don't know is he doing part of the study or something over there? He talked to me in depth.
maybe he's just an
Or
interested resident?
yeah, I didn't know if he
Yeah,
was.
'cause he's come and talked to me as well. So
Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
think he's
All
just-
right. Doing a lot of research. Okay. I have talked to other residents who, definitely, you know, if there is that ordinance that, you know, no parking in the travel lane, then they would like to see it enforced. And I don't know if it's necessarily just for winter, like
Yeah,
Steve
there's actually
said.
a state statute
Um,
that you can't,
Yeah, that he would, you know, they would like it to see it enforced. And they have a point, if there is.
So do you have anything to say about safety? I mean, you've said, well, I've never not been able to get through, and
Right.
there's always cleanup, so you've always, you know, you have to come back, so
Yeah.
it's not quite efficient
Right.
in terms of your work. So
Right.
aside from efficiency, do you feel that your road crew, that there are any safety issues?
I think what Hugh was talking about is a good example. I mean, if I hit a car with a plow, and the state police want to give me a ticket for it, for driving, whatever, not controlling my vehicle, they can, I believe. Not that they would, but
Right.
you know, anytime we're driving a motor vehicle, we're responsible for it.
And
So it's given more opportunity when you have to, you know, swerve around cars. Of course, you want to get as close as you can, but you don't want to get too close.
Yeah, and it does, and right, and I think by that, you can see sometimes they give them a pretty wide beam to stay away. And that road does turn into a single lane road in certain sections
Yeah.
at times.
Well, the other issue you have is a good heavy wet snow, you could impact the side of a vehicle. Even though you're 3 feet away from it, you can roll the snow and dent the side of the vehicle.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
You know that, yeah.
If it wasn't parked in the travel portion, that wouldn't be an issue, but.
Right. I do think that, you know, if we should have, we had little cards that we could leave on people's vehicles before, for parking and turnarounds and those kind of things. So maybe I should just be, you know, put them on their windshield, and or they should be notified, you know, first by the town that it's going to be more enforced or
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think that's a
enforced,
whole other issue that we wanna have a conversation about, which is how do we enforce an ordinance? You know, what does that look like? And that's a great idea. There are proactive ways that we can help people to be motivated to follow the ordinance as opposed to only, you know, after the fact,
Yep.
you know.
And that's the other thing to go along with that. Is that's why it's kind of, you know, with the when people want additional apartments in their houses and they don't have parking, that's a that was a good case to, you know, if there's no parking, then no off the street parking.
Yeah,
They should be really looked at.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
that's what raised all this up was a
Yeah.
recent permit application, yeah.
There's not enough space in the community, around the community center, is there, for those that don't have driveways?
Yep,
There-
there's plenty
there-
of space down there.
Yeah, but I talked to, just not officially with them, but I did speak with them and there's concerns there too. I mean, you know, they'll have liability if cars are parked down there. I mean, I think they do have space, but I think that just opens up, you know, many other things potentially for them as far as people park down there, even if they charge parking, you know, you get liability issues. These guys still plow down there. That's a, you know, it's a parking lot, not a. So I don't. I mean, that's a good point. It certainly worth more discussion, but I think that opens up a lot of what ifs.
Well, people need to park somewhere, of course.
Yeah,
and,
I think that's one of the things that I would hope would come out of a community discussion is,
Yeah.
well, what are the options that need more
Yeah.
research?
Yeah.
What does it mean to have cars have parking spaces down at the community center? What,
Yeah.
you know, what other options can people come up with? What are the ways, some people have dealt with it, you know, by, you know, rotating cars in their driveways. And we need to be prepared to do a little research following this. We're not gonna this is a process. It's not something where at that night, we're gonna solve this whole problem. We're gonna raise issues, we're gonna come up with some ideas, we're gonna have to do more research.
Mhm.
I mean, in Brattleboro, for instance, when they have a storm, there's no on-street parking, and people park in the parking garage, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the other thing we wanna, I would hope would come up in this discussion is, what are the kinds of things we need to think about as we move forward with certain decisions about adding apartments, about Airbnb, about, what are the things that make this harder and exacerbate the problem that we already have, so that we can be more intentional about those things and be more community-minded about the consequences, so that we can be good neighbors.
Right. I did think about marking the street, making,
Lines,
yeah,
having lines.
having lines.
And
so
what do
we
people
can
feel about that? I
kind
don't want
of-
my lines on my
Right,
road,
have it designated,
Yeah.
like, this is a travel lane, I measured it over there to see, but it varies so much, it's 20 feet in one spot and 40 in the next, or not 40, but 30.
That does bring up a good point that somebody could challenge if they were in the travel portion or not, if we don't have it white lined.
Right.
Somebody could.
Yep.
Right.
And then the other thing, to get back to the community center, you probably would wanna then look at a contract plowing situation, cause you wouldn't wanna have to go in there every time somebody moved cars to clean up the parking lot. I mean, that certainly
Right.
bears consideration,
And-
but.
and
that
They
would be-
have parked there before, and I'm not sure who
At the
they
community
are,
Yeah.
but there has been a few cars and they actually park in a good spot. The community center, the one thing, we're usually over there after the storm because we don't clean up down and back during the storm, we just, deal with that another day. So it's not so bad. I do think that that's probably gonna be one of the best options. And I would think it's town land, cause we paid for the pavement. We've paid for the parking, or the plowing, salt, and those kind of things, so I think that's, I'm not sure what kind of, insurance or, what the community center has on that.
Yeah, somebody have to look into
Right.
it.
Is there some research that would be useful for us to do prior to that meeting to be able to respond to
I think
that
some of the
coming up?
questions we just raised about insurance.
The community center.
Right, and I'm saying, should we look into some of those things before the meeting, so
That'd be
we're
good.
prepared?
Yeah, I think so, 'cause the questions will come up.
And who would do that?
Yeah, I mean, the community center and how they feel, or the people who are in charge of it, but it comes down to if that's the
If it's,
viable. Travel lanes, I can check in, I don't think they have to be very wide personally, but I don't know how narrow you can go.
Mm.
Steve, did you, when we were talking, I looked at this class 3 roads, what is it, state statute, do you know, is that you can't park in the road? Or
Yeah,
what is
state
that?
statute, yeah.
It just says don't park in the travel portion of the road?
It just gives you an option where if somebody does park in it, you can contact the state police and they'll have it towed,
Okay.
basically. I passed that on to somebody and I didn't bring it tonight, but,
yeah, I think you
We should have that written
And that's what we did.
before that meeting. We should have
emailed it.
copies of
I
that.
think he emailed it, actually.
yeah, that's right.
And the state police don't have a problem with doing that either, cause that's
Right.
what I did, and they're like, oh, we'll take care of it. And that's all we heard about it.
And you only have to tow a couple times and the message will get sent. I mean,
Right,
we've used it in commercial parking lots that we do, and you only, by the time you tow the second car, that's the end of the problem.
Yep.
Right.
But discussing it within the community, hopefully will solve the issue, but.
Right. So, okay,
um,
so who wants to look into the community center, insurance, the parking lot? that sort of thing.
Looking into it by talking with Gene Momini, or is this looking into it, talking to an insurance company?
I'd say maybe insurance company,
Okay.
talking with Gene probably would be a good
I
start.
definitely would want to visit with Jean.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
have to talk to her already about the, we still have to go over
Oh,
and
the
do that
drainage.
drainage.
Yeah.
I have that written down. I talked to her today, so.
Can you add that to your list?
Yeah, that's what I don't mind asking them what their opinion, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right.
Let's get, yeah.
And then
Let's get
I'll
their
let,
input,
I'll
yeah.
let, whoever
If you let
wants
me
to
know,
know.
and I can try to come
Okay.
with you.
Yeah, and even if you wanna meet there when we're meeting about the drainage, that's fine too.
We need a select board assistant
Yeah.
to look into the insurance issues.
Right.
That's
That's
why I didn't
I'll-
volunteer for that.
Yeah, so I'll try to get some of that background.
Okay, thanks.
Michelle has a question.
Yes.
I'm thinking about my sister-in-law who lives up in Putney Meadows, and I know they have a long-standing rule that if it's going to be a snowy evening, everyone has to park on a named side. And they have to move their cars because that means that when the plow comes through, they get to clear it out.
Yeah.
Then they have to get up and move it in the morning so that they do the other half. And the other thing I thought of was that if it's not a terrible idea and there needs to be some offset to the cost to the town, and there isn't a lot of, output on our part other than making sure it gets plowed and it's passable, we could sell permits, just like the way parking garages do. They don't have to be expensive.
Mm-hmm. It could be revenue for the.
It could be,
Yeah.
if you have to plow it twice, it could perhaps cover the cost.
Yeah.
You might be paying, so you might know.
Where do you live?
I have a lot of
Sorry. No, that's helpful, Michelle, thanks.
Yeah, good thoughts, thank you.
Yeah, and we're hoping that, good ideas like that come up in this meeting, for the people who are affected. But having examples from other towns is very useful.
So, any more on this, or shall we move on?
Well, I just want to say, so given what Michelle said about Putney Meadows, that would also be helpful from you, is if you said, this is what would make the road crew's job easier in the winter, if we had some protocol like this. I'm not saying you need to say anything right now, but
Right.
but think about that, and if something comes up and Hugh can raise the possibility of some kind of plan like that, where somebody new moves into the town and people say, oh, well, just want you to know that when it snows, this is what we do here.
Right, we definitely would have it so they'd park on one side of the parking lot. You know what I mean, during
Yeah.
the snowstorm,
Great.
and then we can get it all
Yeah.
cleaned out, and then we can,
Yep.
something to that effect. A question you might get asked is on that apartment, the person who wanted the apartment, is that parking for us? Just a thought, but, I don't.
Good.
Alright.
Sorry, Steve.
So, I was trying to look on here to see if I could see David,
Yeah,
is
it's
this,
under road foreman's report.
oh, okay,
Letter.
alright,
David Baker.
Okay.
Email from David Baker regarding signage on East West Road.
yeah, alright, so, I guess it was brought up, there was a couple accidents there with some loose gravel. I thought there was only one, and then I was told the other night there was two. And when I went down to look at it, somebody had swept it up, the center of the road. And that might have been after the second one. I'm not sure exactly on the time frame. I didn't actually hear the calls, that they went out on. And then the email, I have not read it, but I guess the question was, do we want to have signs saying, loose gravel ahead? Or, something to that effect?
So you
Alright.
can
brilliantly written.
Is that,
It's brilliantly written.
oh, the email? Okay. But was that the, gist of it?
Yes, he was.
All right.
Yeah,
addressing
it's-
the sign.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. The gravel was swept. I made both calls actually. The gravel was swept up after the second one. The first guy, the second accident happened like 45 minutes after they hauled the first guy out with an ambulance. I mean, it was.
All right, all right.
So,
Yeah, I was confused on,
but it's I noticed when I came up late last night. I came up I don't know 1:32 in the morning, for the meeting, and somebody had swept it up when I came through. I went to lunch at the VFW at 12:30 and came back at 2 o'clock after I chased some errands around, and there's gravel back on the road. I don't see any issue. And my thought was, somebody that rides a motorcycle and does 25,000 miles a year, nothing makes me stand on the rear brake faster than a sign that says sand or loose gravel. And I thought this could, because somebody's gonna, I was talking to you about the guardrail, which I'm opposed to now, because that second guy absolutely would be dead. It would have cut him in half if the guardrail was there. That big I-beam poking out of the ground would have cut him in half. But sand or loose gravel is a cheap way to do it. It's post hole digger, one guy, a couple of bolts, a piece of metal in the ground, and then a sign, which I understand we can get from Brattleboro at nominal cost. And you put it back 100 yards from that corner, because you're never going to get away from that gravel. Every time it rains, the gravel comes down off of Partridge Road, and the camber of the corner is such that it's angled the wrong way. So when mechanically you want to go to your right, everything is going to the left. And I was under the understanding that it was only a couple of 2 or 3 times a year that people went down, but having retired and spent a little more time up here, I fished the guy out of the creek. That was he doesn't. I don't think that was gravel. But the kid who got airlifted to Massachusetts, that was certainly gravel and a high rate of speed. I don't know if he's alive or dead, but I know he did get an airlift. He did get a helicopter ride. And then the 2 motorcycle guys, and that was within a 30 to 45 day period.
So let's go. What do you think? What are your thoughts? I always turn to you to get the. What's your
I haven't gone up and looked at it, so it's hard to comment on it. And we are kind of trying not to overload the town with signs, but if that's a simple solution and Lee didn't have an issue with it, I guess that would be a good place to start. If it saves somebody from going off the corner.
Is the cut on that thing? Because the gravel, there's gravel on there today. I ride my motorcycle on that road all the time because it's a fun road to ride your motorcycle on. But if you don't know that road, a lot of things can get you on East-West Road, even in a vehicle. But is the cut can't be any? There's nothing you could do with the cut that would keep gravel, or is it just?
We end up going down there probably, after any big rain, and cleaning the edge of the blacktop with the backhoe.
That inside has nowhere to go.
Right.
Right.
It's,
But if it rains on Friday night, you might not get to it till Monday.
Yeah, and depending on how everything else is going in town too.
Yeah.
We do, I think the gravel they were talking about was actually out in the middle of the road or in the middle of the travel lane.
It gets kicked
Yeah.
out. It gets kicked out, and then people coming down Partridge Road carry it, and it's just.
Like right now, I didn't consider it that bad along the white line.
No,
You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
is on the white line, or it might even be 1 inch or a couple inches beyond the white line. But there isn't that. If the person's right in the center of the road, there isn't that.
I agree.
Gravel. It might be a little sandish stuff there, but it happens in not a lot of driveways, but quite a few driveways that have the same kind of issues.
Because that's on a curve, it's more dangerous.
Yes, and yes, on the curve.
And
the
it's
curve
not
gets
downhill. I mean,
the
there
curve
are
gets the
3 or
gets the
4
motorcycles.
things that make
If
that.
it was on the straightaway, they still probably don't like it when they hit a dirt pile, but they usually can.
Easier to control it.
Right.
Would you recommend signs both ways or just in the westbound? Because it's a straightaway leading into it when you're heading west, and then you're on the inside of the turn where the gravel is. I mean, if you're coming
I would
eastbound and you put a sign there, you're pretty busy. You got 2
Right.
90-degree turns.
You
I
don't need it going eastbound.
Yeah, I think, definitely. If you're going to
Going
sign it,
uphill.
it should be
Right,
one
yeah.
sign.
And they don't really recommend putting signs where there isn't. I mean, ideally, there shouldn't be any gravel there,
Yeah.
or very, little. Vehicles always track a little bit of gravel out into the road when they drive, but we don't want to put up signs that are just for that that storm or that.
Right.
So they're there for 1 month without no loose gravel in the middle, because that same biker, he's gonna come up there, see that loose gravel sign, there's no loose gravel there. The next time he comes up, you just become, more used to it.
You don't
but-
believe it, yeah.
Yeah, I hope that sign would really be for the infrequent user of that road. Because I ride a lot, and I don't care. I always am very cautious on that corner because you never know. There's always gravel. It seems to me.
Yeah,
or enough to get me concerned when I ride around it.
I think that whole area right in there is, if I was even driving, you can only go so fast, and then you have to make another hard turn. But I really, we don't mind putting up another sign, but it is another sign.
Getting close to the quantity discount
Right.
signs.
For the road, because I don't like having a lot of signs along the road unless we have a 4-foot arrow there with a curve. When people are speeding, not to, that's not our fault, my fault, anyone's fault, besides their own. So I don't really, I do feel bad about the 2 bikes in a row, if there was a abundance of gravel there.
Okay.
Go
ahead. I'm not looking, if you'd like to table it for a couple of months, everybody, this is not a big town. We're not talking about Los Angeles. You folks drive around, and as you drive around, take a look at the gravel for yourself and say, I know there's one sign between Slab Hollow and there. And I understand what you're saying, because the more signs you have, the less credibility you have with the more that you have. And I understand that. It makes sense. But maybe now that you're aware, and I've brought it up, next time you drive by, take a look and just make a mental note.
I think that would be, I'd like to, as we've been talking, I'm familiar with the curve, but
Yeah.
I haven't been thinking of it, and I'm not a motorcycle driver, so.
Can we get turns with you? I'd go for a ride.
On a motorcycle?
Yeah.
That's a fun road.
I'll drive, you can ride.
Okay, so how's everyone with that?
I'm good till
Sure.
next
Take a
spring
look.
sometime will be.
You got an extra helmet, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
And that intersection is one of the dangerous ones, even without gravel, with, there's been a number of accidents there, and that's why the state put up better signs
Yeah,
and those kind of things.
right.
Just,
But thank you for bringing this to our attention. So we can
Thank you for hearing me.
look at it more closely.
I think I have a cocktail waiting as well.
Yes.
So do we.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good one. Start before you.
I think that's all I had.
Okay.
It's just a matter of if you would like to talk in more depth about the things in executive session or not, or is he or Zeke kind of
I don't think we
need to. All right, and I'll give you an update then, because I thought we might be doing that.
Yeah.
But I'll give you an update tomorrow
Okay, great.
or something like that.
Any more questions for Lee? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee.
Good night.
Night.
Now, I thought, Michelle, I thought you were here just because you were interested and enjoyed our company, but it occurred to me that you might be here because further down our agenda, we have an update on the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District Net-metering project. And is that why you are sitting so patiently? And
I was hoping to hear about the ginkgo tree.
all right, okay, then sit back. We're ready to. Okay, well then, if we,
I would love to hear about net metering too, but.
okay, but you're not here specifically for that.
No.
No, okay,
I'm
great.
just
Well, we'll go
a
on.
citizen.
I'm just looking for your comfort, and you know, you probably have cocktails waiting for you. So,
No.
is
I wish.
under correspondence for information, is there, I can tell you, Prospect Hill Trustees meeting, Mary Lou Schmidt has called it for October 26th at 5 p.m. She has agreed to meet at the Dummerston Community Center.
Good.
Is there anything else that you would like to discuss?
Well, I attended the Blue Cross Blue Shield meeting last week.
Oh, yes,
and,
the breakfast.
Right, and
How was it?
well, it was interesting. It was sort of the same we heard last year. The federal government is underfunding Medicaid and Medicare, and therefore hospital increases are disproportionately falling upon private insurers. And I think the average rate increase is about 5.9%, I believe. So, and I included all that and chose the premiums for the various plans. I thought it would be timely with the budget season coming up.
Yes.
Great.
That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. How was the breakfast?
It was okay. Yeah.
Good. All right. Let's see.
Was there a new letter from the zoning administrator regarding Airbnbs, or is this from before?
This is from before.
Yeah, okay.
Well then, this is what we've all been waiting for. Under correspondence for discussion and or action, we have received a generous offer of a ginkgo tree, and the individual was proposing that it go on the town common. Now, I'm opening that up for discussion.
I have a thought.
Yes?
I'd kind of like to see maples on the town common, but I do have an idea for the ginkgo tree. Is I wonder if it could possibly go over at the rain garden by the covered bridge. I did speak with one person that was weeds the garden there, and they thought that would be fine. There's plenty of room on the north end there, and it might be a valuable addition and get more attention from the swimmers and the bridge people. So that would be my suggestion.
Beautiful yellow foliage in the fall would be nice for tourists to see.
Now, I got a question on that, because I only live a half a mile from that, so I would need a smell update, because apparently there's some.
Well,
Nice.
Unless there's another.
These are all males,
Yeah.
and the nearest female is,
Maybe in Brattleboro. So I
Yeah.
think that,
Did we
it's
cover
okay.
all the males in West Dummerston before we put it in
They've
there?
been neutered, I think. It's part of
I
the-
think that was brought up, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, addressed in her letter.
Yeah.
Well,
I would make that suggestion
Yeah,
that
I
we
would- I
either
think that's
suggest it
great.
goes there. I don't know if
the
she would.
Conservation Commission is the
Right.
ones that sort of oversee the rain garden, so.
I wonder if she would make the offer to the Conservation Commission based on our recommendation. She do so, and
Right.
it seems like a very logical place for it.
Okay.
And would be
I
a valued
have-
addition to it, probably.
Yeah, I had thought that this space out here, you know, it might be good to have a little more thought put into how it's managed and what new plantings, if any, go in, rather than just accepting
Mhm.
generous offers for
Mhm.
exotic trees.
I
So,
agree.
would you like to contact this individual and
Sure,
suggest
yeah,
that? Great,
yes.
thank you. Anybody else have any other thoughts other than?
No.
No? Michelle, you have A thought.
Uh,
You would like
a
a ginkgo
thought.
tree?
Actually, yes. At one time, I dreamt of having one of as many as I could put on my property and have an arboretum, but that's not going to happen in my lifetime. So, because I saw this in the upcoming agenda, I looked it up on Wikipedia and read up about ginkgo trees, and it is a living fossil. It's worth accepting.
Some people have said that about me, though.
I heard it's timeless.
Well, in a time and a place long ago that, it's amazing that it did survive. But they grow to be quite large. And that's the only thing that occurred to me is that we do not have a large town common. And it would be lovely to have an enormous space to put a specimen like a ginkgo. And I am not familiar with where it would go in a rain garden environment, but it's going to get very big and particularly very tall. And so it would be a good idea to have it, but somewhere that it would be allowed to really flourish and show off.
Yes.
That
And there is a
isn't the
significant
common.
area north of the rain garden where I think
Where it
it
could
would have that
really
opportunity.
be very amazing. That would be a lovely tree there. But otherwise, and it would last, 7 of our lifetimes. They're long-lived, so.
Is the person you spoke with, Steve, on the Conservation Commission?
No, they just are somebody who takes care of the rain garden, weeding and.
So would it be important to also ask
Yes.
before we
I think-
suggest to this person that,
Yes, maybe
That-
we should,
My suggestion was that she contacted
the-
the Conservation Commission
I see,
and
okay.
and with the urging of the select board suggesting that might be a good place for the
Okay.
tree. That I wasn't
Yeah.
suggest that she plant a tree there. I was
Right.
suggesting she contact the conservation.
yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Good. We don't want to step on anyone's toes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can do that without trying.
Well, so then, if there's no further discussion on that, then the other burning issue, and I'm surprised the room isn't full, there's a request from the Green Mountain Mummers to dance on the town common October 30th at noontime. And this would be the 41st year they would be doing this. So I did consider referring this to the Historical Society, but I thought we could handle it. What would you like to do? As an emotion.
I would move approval of their request to dance on the common October 30th at noon.
Okay. I would take a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I will let them know. Unfinished business. Do we have any update on the center?
Do we need to vote on, on Andrew's resignation, or that's
For
just
some reason, my,
letter of resignation from
no,
Andrew
my,
McFarland?
Huh, I don't have it on mine.
wow, but I know I did have it on the latest edition. I wonder if this is a prior agenda. So, Andrew McFarland tendered his resignation effective October 1st. I think so that we can post it and acknowledge his resignation and look for someone to fill his seat. We have to accept that resignation, although he's already resigned. So,
I move we accept his resignation with regret.
I'll second that.
okay, any discussion? It's pro forma to say we'll accept a resignation with regret, but I truly do regret Andrew
Yes.
resigning. He was, during the, not to extend our meeting longer, but during the last town plan, he was the chair of the select board, and he really shepherded the plan through a very contentious time, and was very thorough and did a great job and was, I think, a great member of the planning commission also, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with any more comments, we'll go to the vote, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Unfinished business, fundraising, Center Fire Station. I know that a generous stock contribution was made.
I think there are two, actually.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, and I
two.
did confirm that our revised policy was accepted by
Oh, yeah.
Edward Jones, yes.
All right. The last tally I had seen was somewhere in the 13, just under 14,000, but
I
I think
think this last one's equals 27.
27. Whoa, that's pretty good news.
It is
Yeah.
very good news.
Great. Wow, almost double. Double.
And is that because of the two generous stock?
And there were several others for a few hundred, but those two, I can't remember the exact amount, but there was, the one stock was fairly significant. Maybe 6, it was quite a bit. There were two large ones, and then there was 4 or 5 other that were very generous, $100, $200 ones as well that came in.
Great, that's good news.
I know we had it, I don't know, maybe I stuck it in some folder.
It is here, if we want to be specific about
Yeah, I
it.
don't think the last one was on there, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said, for the notes, you said our revised policy
Investment
was,
policy.
investment was accepted by Edward Jones.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Is there any update on the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District net-metering project? Have they?
Look at, for me, I have, other than hearing back that they would look into our bills and offer a recommendation, and then I've queried another time where we are on that, and I have not received any feedback on that, so.
Okay.
I guess I would ask you how much you want me to look into this, because all I have is an email that was all that was given. I don't know if these guys are out and about, or I could, go shake the tree down at the Wyndham Solid Waste and see if they've got phone numbers, or I guess how much time you want to spend on this.
No, I think if you let them know, you've done, no sense shaking ginkgos down at the.
Right, but maybe.
Some confusion, isn't there gonna be a shrinking of the differential in the, that they pay now, and is there some discussion so that might be some of the holdup?
Well, I guess, and I can't remember the terminology now, but that's if they get it done between now and like the 31st of December, they're in, one set of rules.
Correct.
And if they don't get it done by then we fall into another set of rules which will shrink. It's the offset, or I can't remember the right term, but so I mean, my understanding was they really wanted the municipalities done. I don't know.
Before November 30th? Oh, before November 1st?
First, right, and then they were going to corporations, et cetera, and then private citizens, so I was a little, I'm not sure why.
The clock is running.
We're not a big,
The differential might not be so much,
so we're probably not on the highest.
Yeah.
So if you could just let them know that our next meeting is the 26th,
Sure.
and you'd like to be able to
Give us something.
give us an update on the status of our request for a proposal for our participation, that would,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, great. Select Board Assistant job search. You found anyone yet?
No, I put the twist on the young lady we talked to about,
man.
and she was just too busy.
Yep, that's the word I heard.
Is there an article going in the Views?
We bring that up every time,
What?
I think
No,
so.
but
I think so.
yeah. You think so? All right, that's
All
good.
those passed through me.
What's that again? I
All
didn't
those
hear the
articles
question.
passed through me.
All right.
What was
We
the
have a-
question?
is there a mention
Article
of the
that-
use?
Yes,
Article
that was
use.
designated for me to do, yes.
Okay, and you did.
Well, it's the select board article, and I
Oh.
mentioned,
Well, no, what I meant was.
not a separate one about that, no.
The job position.
No.
But it's,
In the select board thing, though, I did mention that Lori had resigned, and I believe I said we were looking for a replacement.
okay.
I remember it.
The the editor.
And I
is-
think there is a
Thank you.
box ad too, isn't there?
Oh,
Yes,
right,
I
we were
think
going
I
to
have
try to
a
put a box,
suspicion.
you
I did,
took care of
yes.
that, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, they're putting a
So-
box
sounds
ad.
good,
Yes.
thank you.
Emphatically, we can say yes.
Yeah, we,
Question.
you know, as one of the takers of the notes, we are desperate. You
Yeah.
know, we really
We-
need somebody.
We should maybe put in for
Yes.
the next article too.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
Yes, well. I
It
thought-
doesn't
I-
seem to be a very sought after job, because
No, I-
I've asked several people I thought would be very good at it, and I don't think they like going out evenings to meetings, so
Maybe
I
we
can't
should just
imagine
meet
that.
during the day.
It's the perfect job for somebody.
It is the perfect
We
job.
just haven't found the right somebody, but
That's right.
We will be switching to our
early,
daylight savings time
Yeah.
schedule in November, right?
yeah.
You know, I know that United Way, I believe, does training, a board training for young professionals to join boards. And that's all evening meetings, so maybe I'll contact
Yeah,
them.
okay. I think the sheriff has something that involves ankle bracelets. Something we might get someone that way.
Okay, yeah, we've gotta be
Check on
creative in
that.
our,
I'll ask.
All right. Yes, we have to get, right. All right, well, as the minute, responsibilities, go around the circle, I'm sure we'll all feel motivated. Anything under new business that you want to discuss?
there was one item that you said, oh no, that was gonna come under other business,
Oh,
okay.
okay. Well, then, is there anything you'd like to discuss under other business?
There was something
There's
you,
something
that
here.
you asked for, that,
Oh, yes, the job description, town,
oh, we decided that we were gonna postpone that to the next meeting
okay,
for a vote.
great,
Yeah.
we're rolling now.
That's right, yeah. I forgot about that.
Under other business, I noticed the sheriff's bill didn't have as much detail as usual.
You'd like me to ask that?
Yes, yeah. If you got him on the phone.
They have been diligent, though, they have been.
They have been doing 31 plus hours. a month.
They were here in the center a lot. They actually were on Nurse Hollow. They actually came to me with an investigation about cars parked on the north end of Nurse Hollow, in the wetland area there and in the road. They've been pretty diligent.
There were two doing speed on East West Road last week.
Well, a word to the wise is.
So when you see,
Be
when you see the
careful.
first guy, don't think you're
Yeah.
Stafford.
They're getting smarter, aren't they? Yeah.
Driving around.
Yeah. I was, on that issue, I was surprised that Paul's answer, so I will follow up on that, or
Okay.
answer this question.
So we have, our next meeting will be October 26th at the community center. There is a Prospect Hill trustees meeting starting at 5. We'll have the public our regular meeting starting at 6. We'll have the public hearing on Wickopee Hill at 7, and then we'll go directly to the discussion on parking.
Sounds good. So I'll make this correction 6 to 7,
Yeah.
and I can either email it to you and you can print it. Do you need to sign it for the, I don't know.
You-
Lori said she
we-
would put it in the
we-
paper for us.
We have, that's what we voted on. I'll sign it right now. Just
Okay. I just wanted to give her a good copy to email.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you need me to come
think
and
we'll be
sign
good.
anything again, I'll be happy to. Is there any other business you'd like to discuss?
To come before this auspicious board.
Yes, this August board?
I would move we adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? Oh, well, hearing none, I guess we can take a vote. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
7:35.